Hey everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I am your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Timothy Sykes on the show. Tim or Timothy, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Do you go by Tim or Timothy? It doesn't matter.
I was Timothy Sykes just because some bastard owned TimSykes.com, but he forgot to register it 1 year and I bought my name back. So now I own both.
Sucks to suck. That's awesome.
It was at like 2 a.m. and I had like a little reminder, like a little notice pop up. I was at like some club and I was so pumped. And
buy a domain.
He just forgot to register it. He was like trying to like ransom it for like 50 grand. And I was like, I'm not paying 50 grand for my own name. And he forgot. Ridiculous. So I sent him some nasty emails afterwards. I was like, you messed up, bastard.
Yep. That's so cool though. Cause I mean, once you get to that level, you really do want, a friend actually advised me to just buy my domain name like years ago. And so I bought it before I knew what to do with it. And I need to update the site more, but I mean, it's so cool.
It's crazy. I had to be Timothy from the very beginning, because from the very beginning of me teaching, like somebody owned TimSykes.com and he would not sell it to me for less than a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have to go with ChristopherBello.com. That was too many syllables.
Literally no one other than my mom calls me Timothy, but like online now everyone calls me Timothy. So
that's cool. So you go by either way. So I'll just call you Tim then, if that's cool. What you really go by. But yeah, Tim, welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to dive in here. I was looking at, your profile on Instagram and YouTube, and you are the co-founder of Karmagawa and SaveTheReef.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that right? Karmagawa?
Yeah. So, it used to be the Timothy Sykes Foundation. I changed the name because I don't need, any
your
recognition.
Name behind it. Yeah.
Most rich people need their ego stroked. I have too big of an ego, so I need to take that away.
You're trying to get it down.
The anti-Timothy Sykes Foundation, let me embrace my haters. Let's get them stronger so that they can knock my ego down.
Yeah.
So I took on a partner. His name is Matt Abad. He's a great photographer. And Gawa, in his language, he's Filipino. In the Filipino language, Tagalog, Gawa means to do or to make. So we're basically making good karma by donating. And then we also post about the charities on social media to get them more exposure. So our goal is to build 1,000+ schools. So far, we built 71. But the cool thing is our social media followers has taken off. And now our social media followers have built 17 right now so far. So it's starting.
That's cool. So you're actually influencing others to take action and help manifest your goals as well.
And this year, so this is like charity merch. We sell charity merch too. And this is made out of recycled cotton and plastic water bottles. So we're trying to, do good there. But also this was our first year because obviously 2020 has just been a tough year. So we couldn't do the normal charity merch and, we couldn't visit a lot of the charities. So we did Facebook fundraisers, raised over $1 million with our community there just with Facebook fundraisers. So we supported 37 charities, I think, this year, now total 60+. So
very cool. Very cool. So there's still lots of opportunities to help. I was actually on a mastermind call on Friday, like a book club we do on Fridays. And we were talking about how we need to do more charity. And, Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk talks about when you give, gratitude and the feelings you get, the happiness you get from helping others. And I kind of admitted, this year I kind of used 2020 as an excuse to, I can't really go out. I can't do this. So there's still several ways that we can help. So none of us have that excuse that got to stay home and social distance, right? Because you can still do it online.
Everyone should donate and give back, especially this year. I've been traveling around to animal sanctuaries. The price of just the cost of caring for animals has gone up, and their donations are down 60, 70, 80, 90%. So you'll see my latest social media post. I've been dressing as Santa. I got my Santa outfit.
I saw that.
And I surprised them, and all the animals come up to me they're like, what's going on? And then I surprise them with big checks. So it's
that's
fun.
Super cool. And I know you said you were just in the Houston Food Bank recently. I see that photo here too, and that's right, in my city. So that's really cool.
That was $100,000. They do fantastic work. And like you said, you volunteer at Houston Food Bank. Everyone should go there. If you're in Houston, they need volunteers. That's how they get the cost of all the meals that they give. The cost of the meals is down to like 33 cents per meal, which is amazing.
That is insane. Yeah, you can help so many people. Your dollars can go so far.
300,000 meals that my $100,000 went to. So that's pretty freaking awesome.
That is a really cool metric that they track, because then you feel like you can feel the impact more than, what did my money go to? They tell you how many meals.
No,
really
100%.
Smart. And that way you're incentivized to give more. So, I love what you're about. Your shirt being made out of recycled materials and all of that. You're living your purpose and you're living your dream. And you said you were a penny stock trader before, right? So is that how you got your start?
I'm still a penny stock trader, but I donate all of my profits from trading to charity, and I teach. So people can see my screen. They can see watch list commentary. I have 7,000 video lessons, 1,500 webinars. I'm just archiving everything I do because penny stocks is such like a shady niche. So I was just like, let me just be real about my wins and my losses. You know, I've taken 12,000, turned it into 6 million, but I lose basically a third of the time, and I just cut my losses very quickly. So that's my rule number one. And I wish more people would follow it, but it's tough. It kind of sucks to lose. So
your rule number one is cut your losses quickly?
Correct. My average loss is like 1 or 2%. My average gain is like 5 to 7%. So if your average gains are bigger than your average losses and you win more often than you lose, your account is heading in the right direction.
That's awesome. So you share your screen, you do webinars, all that, live streams, YouTube videos. I mean, I just took a glance at your YouTube channel. You've got 411,000 subscribers, and I love your cover photo. I turned $12,415 into $6,148,184.
And he keeps going. Specific. I have to update it. We're over like 6.2 million now. I'm up 120,000 in December. Like it's just a crazy 2020 with the markets on fire, and obviously, you know, the rest of the world kind of like burning down from fire.
No, I feel it feels weird, right?
It's a weird year. But some people say like it's the worst year ever, and it's just not. You know, it's just their perspective because like people don't like staying home. They don't like being quarantined. They don't like thinking about all this stuff. But this stuff has been happening whether they realized it or not. I mean, this is not the first pandemic. This is not the first time that, you know, a lot of forests are burning. A lot of animals are getting killed. I mean, it was estimated early in the year. People forget now because so much has happened in 2020. But
it's been a long 2020.
To begin the year, there were massive fires in Australia. They estimated that 1 billion animals died. Lately, they've upped the estimate to 3 billion. And it's, you know, sad, but like that's happened before, and it's only getting worse because of, frankly, the way that we're treating our planet. So there's a lot of stuff that, you know, people are just becoming aware of. Now it's a question of what can you do with that awareness. And
absolutely.
This is why I love social media. I refuse to believe that it's a coincidence that at the time when our planet needs us most, we have this one tool to spread information faster than ever before throughout history. So.
I love that. No, I absolutely agree, because before it was just the media. I mean, the media shows what they want, and I'm connected with, I'm sure you travel quite a bit. I mean, you've been all over the world and you travel for organizations and whatnot. I do love to travel as well. And I've made friends in different places that are from places like Jordan or Syria or, you know, the Middle East, South America. And so I'm watching their stories in real time throughout 2020. And I'm seeing like, hey, you know, a lot of stuff's actually pretty normal over there. I mean, when Houston flooded with Harvey, the example I give, I had even people from like Germany, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like the whole city's underwater. I'm like, dude, it's not even raining near me right now. Like it's the media likes to sensationalize, but social media connects us in a way where we're able to cut through, you know, some of the clutter and see what's really going on in other places without it being filtered so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about perspective. Like this is the first time that people are seeing what's happening everywhere, and a lot of the people are experiencing some bad stuff for the first time. And like before, they're like, "Oh, I only thought that happened
in other countries."
Yeah, no, it happens everywhere, and we're all connected. And the sooner people realize that, the better.
Absolutely. So, how do you spend your time now? Like, I mean, I know you do penny stocks, and it seems like you're doing really well. I know 2020 has been crazy, and I have a lot of friends who are jumping into that. So I'm going to tell them to check out your channel for sure for tutorials.
Check it out. Just be ready to lose, because 90% of traders lose. So everyone jumps in like, oh, I want to make $1 million. And it's just not that easy.
Right.
I've made $1 million in 2020, but I've also been trading for 20 plus years. And I'm using those lessons from 2 decades of experience
to get better.
Most of my students don't profit in the very beginning because they don't have the rules. A lot of the best patterns and plays and setups are counterintuitive. So I'm trying to teach people so that by year 2, year 3, year 4, they have a better grasp. You know, rule number 1, cutting losses quickly. Like that's a terrible, frustrating rule to follow because you're like,
I don't want to quit.
I put in money. I'm losing. Like I'm not supposed to be losing, but welcome to the industry. So if you learn to minimize those losses, you know, in entrepreneurship or VC or startups, you know, you're supposed to, you know, fail often, fail quickly, and that way you learn and you pivot. It's the same thing with trading. And the odds are actually pretty similar. Like where most startups fail, most traders fail. So you have to learn to pivot. You have to find what works best for you in the stock market. It's not one size fits all. There's no one magic formula.
I love that. There's definitely a lesson there in terms of just failing fast, cut your losses fast, and treat it as a lesson, because stacking all those losses, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes for those not watching the video, you're stacking those losses. It's really just information. It's like you're testing a hypothesis. Does this work? Okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And you're stacking those losses in a way where you're going to win faster than everyone else, just because you're failing and you're learning much more quickly.
Yeah, you learn what not to do, but people don't want to think about that. They want to like press down the losses. Oh, it didn't happen. Like if you talk to traders online or look at social media, it looks like everyone's winning because they never talk about their losses.
That's true.
For me, the reason why I got into teaching is because I'm not embarrassed. I've been on so many reality shows. I've been drunk as hell on so many. I look like an idiot. So I'm used to like playing the douchebag, and that's fine. I can take, criticism. Whatever. Like that's why I said, ask me whatever in this interview.
That's
like,
cool.
I don't need a structured interview. I just have to show that I'm real and that I can be blunt about it. And that's what's most helpful to my students. So my video lessons where I talk about my losses, they're my most viewed. Like if I win on a trade, that's cool. I donate more to charity because I don't take any, personal profits from my trading. It's all for charity. So the charities win. If I lose, then the charities might get less money that day, that week, that month. But my students win with a good lesson. So It all adds up.
So I'm just curious. I mean, do you have like some rental income or investment properties? Like, what do you live off of right now? Because I'm just thinking of like, if you donate all those profits, do you have something else that's making you money that you actually keep?
I make money from teaching. So I donate all my trading profits. And that's why, I can do this because frankly, my students pay me to be honest. My students pay me for good lessons. So, I take subscription revenues. And I'm just trying to teach people, what actually works and what doesn't work and be the best teacher possible. This is another reason why I love donating, not just because I get to donate more to charity, but because it's not in my own best interest to make a lot of money. Like if I make a lot of money and all my students lose, they'll just cancel. Like I have to be useful to them. So I'm always thinking about like, what's a good trade that I can explain, like not just about the trade alert, but can I predict it ahead of time in a video lesson or a watch list? Can I teach them a process? So now every trade isn't just about the money that you make or lose. It becomes an example. So I have 7,000 video lessons categorized into 36 different categories. So if you like, one of my patterns is morning panic dip buys. So if you like morning panic dip buys, you click a little link, you get 900 videos with example. This one worked, this one didn't, this one I missed, this one I nailed. And I'm basically a glorified history teacher and I'm teaching the history of my trading.
Very cool. Very cool. So you've built a library of wins and losses that people can refer to. And I mean, I never was a fan of history in school because I was like, man, this is boring. Who cares what happened back in 1912 or whatever? But it's true. Like history repeats itself. And I'm reading Principles by Ray Dalio right now. And he talks about that too, is that the power of history, maybe he didn't study something and it happened again and he fell for it because he wasn't prepared. He didn't do his research. So you're just learning from all these things and people are able to dive into your history without putting all their own money on the line, I guess. Well, you're going to have to, but
I have a lot of students who they're not even trading yet. They're just studying, and that's fantastic. I tell people if you are going to trade very small or paper trade.
Yes.
The cool thing also is now my students who are understanding, like in year 3, year 4, year 5, they're now helping me teach. So I have a student, Jack Kellogg. When is this going to air? I'm going to surprise him. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
This is going to air next week, on the 24th.
Good. All right. So the surprise will be over by the time this happens. So I'm actually dressed as Santa with charity, but I'm also going up to New Hampshire to surprise Jack. He has like a chain that he wears over his shirt. It's like the weirdest thing. It looks like a Knight of the Roxbury. And I'm giving him a better chain because he just crossed $1 million in profits. He has no idea.
That's awesome.
I have like 4 of his best friends coming. I'm planning it with his girlfriend. But now he's helping me teach. He's in my chat room. He's giving webinars because, he was a valet 3.5 years ago. He studied everything. He went out like never, even before the pandemic, like he was just studying nonstop. Now he's turned basically 20,000 into like $1.5 million. It's crazy. And he now helps me teach. So I'm getting helpers. Before I used to give like 3, 4, sometimes 5 live webinars a week. Now I'm down to 1 and my students are giving them. So it's actually fantastic to throw out all the information you've learned and see what happens and see, who's going to work with you in many different ways.
And I love how you're setting those expectations up front that you want them to be successful on years 2, 3, 4, 5. You're not saying in 6 months, make $1 million. Like you're
many
being
people
real.
want it overnight, but it doesn't even help you to make a lot right away. It's actually, counterintuitive. You learn the wrong lesson. So many,
Yes.
Traders, they might get lucky. They're in Bitcoin or they're in some hot sector and they're like, oh, this is so easy. I don't have to study. And then they get crushed when the market changes. So
Right.
I'm trying to, create self-sufficient traders. Like Jack doesn't need me anymore. I'm just grateful that, he's even still, helping me teach. My first big millionaire student, Michael Good, was also my first hater online. Now he's made over 2 million. He's my moderator in my chat room. The blog post that he wrote, Timothy Sykes is full of BS, is still up on Google. You can see. So it's so good just to be real. And, this is why I say, like, ask me anything. Like, there's conspiracy theories like, oh, my charity's like a tax haven. No, actually, I donate too much compared to my income. I don't trade. Like, my dad trades for me. I'm like, no, I don't let anybody else touch my money. So there's all these, like, conspiracy theories like, oh, gotcha. I had this one photographer. I used to travel a lot, right? So I've been to 120 countries. I bring like photographers, videographers. There's one photographer, I'm not going to name him, but he edited the photo and he took out the shadow from my thing. And I didn't even look. Like I just posted it. It was me in Italy. And
Someone thought it was fake.
All the comments were like the shadow. And I was like, I don't even realize this. And they're like, so you don't travel at all. And I'm like, I've been to Positano.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been to Positano 6 summers in a row. Like, if I was going to fake any place, it wouldn't be a place that I have. Like, I have so many videos. But this one photo, literally all my haters latch onto it. And then I did a blog post on it. I was like, I'll own it. Like, this is my most controversial photo. And I was like, you people are so pathetic, looking for like a gotcha kind of moment. And you don't have it. I'm just real.
Yes. And I mean, as you get to that level, when you've got probably help in social media, people posting, editing, like you said, editing photos, I don't look at the thumbnail. Like my VA makes the thumbnail for YouTube and I'm like, looks good. Or I might tell her to change one word. Like, I don't know, just it's better than what I would do.
But people are desperate. You have to understand, like, I don't blame them. Most people in the industry are fake. Most gurus, most penny stock traders. Are you kidding me? Like the Wolf of Wall Street, like, I'm in an industry full of fakes and fraud, so I get it.
That's true. Yeah.
But this is why I love being so real. This is why I'm so energetic, because all I have to do is like say, look, I messed up on this trade. I did well on this trade. Never follow my alerts. Never follow anybody's alerts, and I can just teach real. And if I screw up, like I make a huge video lesson, and then I get 70 new students who are like, "Thank you for being so honest." Like it's awesome. Crazy that just being blunt and real about everything is so revolutionary. But this exists in so many industries because of so many fakes all over the place. Like you have like these douchebags who are like renting a Lambo for a day and they're like, get into videos. Binary options. You can make $1 million in a month. And you're just like, but some people like believe it. Like people are desperate for money, so they believe it. And for me, I don't want that. Like I'm a dick to a lot of the people who claim to want to be students if they have like the wrong attitude. If they're like, I'll learn eventually, but right now just teach me how to make $5,000 and my rent is due. And I'm like, no, like that's not how this works. You can't just like cheat the stock market and like cheat odds. You can't cheat.
Yeah. You got to teach a man to fish in a way. I actually just got a DM and I was like, I don't know if this is real or not, but if it is, I kind of want to give him some tough love. But what the guy said was, literally, like, dear Chris, had a sob story, blah, blah, blah. We're in huge debt from education loan, housing loan, borrowed money. Please help me pay off my loans. And he provided his bank account and his PayPal. And I'm like, I don't know if that would work. But I'm like, man, if I paid you, you'd be in the same situation next month. You got to learn a skill.
If you paid him, then he would send out triple the DMs tomorrow because then he'd be like, oh, my God, it actually worked. It costs nothing to DM, so they just throw it out there. I have so many imposters. I have no other accounts like Timothy Sykes 472 or Timothy Sykes with like 3 S's. Like, and people fall for this stuff like, I'm going to manage open this crypto wallet. I never do crypto wallets. I never manage anybody else's money. Like there's so many scams out there, but that's the internet. I say like, this is kind of like the Wild West of like the 1880s. Like, there used to be like cocaine and Coca-Cola. Like that's the situation that we're at right now where like Dr. Brown's medicine cured, like it cures everything. And it's really just like cocaine.
That's hilarious, man. But I got to just say, I do love your energy. Just like you got so much energy. And if you did a couple calls today, I'm like, man, how are you still on that? Are you taking Dr. Brown's medicine?
Yeah, right. I have the medical. No, no, it's literally just loving what I do and realizing this moment. You know, everyone watching this, if you have a startup, forget about just penny stock trading. If you have a startup, like start throwing all your ideas out there on social media. You'll start getting customers. You'll start getting employees who want to work with you. Like my best-selling product is a book that I didn't even write. One of my students wrote it because he's like, Tim, I love what you teach, but you're so disorganized.
Let me do it for you.
Yeah, and he has an academic background. I was like, sure, do it. Like 9 months later, he gives me this draft. It's all my video lessons, DVDs, webinars, just summarized in like a very beautiful form. We made it. You know, I published it because, I mean, it was basically what I teach. And he did it. And I wrote the foreword. It's called the Complete Penny Stock Course. And it's got the highest reviews of anything that my team has ever done. And I didn't even do it. It was just my students summarizing what I did. So it's amazing. I didn't expect that. We just had a 30-day boot camp with one of my newest students, Matt Monaco. He graduated college early this year. Now he's over $500,000. And he created this boot camp. We did 30 days of Zoom calls, and we just talked about stuff. He organized it all. It was a good framework. And now that's one of my best-selling, best reviewed products. So throw stuff out there. You will be shocked if you're real and useful and valuable, what comes back to you. I have no idea. I just throw stuff out there. Anybody's welcome to DM me or email me or work with me. It's cool.
That's so cool. It's so true what you just said there, because I've been extending that invite too. Just call to action on my podcast. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to, engage with you. And I just did a Zoom call with someone yesterday who somehow followed me, and we talked for 30 minutes. He wants to get into real estate, and I was just giving him some tips. And I mean, I don't know where that's going to go, but like you said, I put something out there. Someone took the bait, not the bait, but they took the hook. They took the bait, and now I'm going to sell them on my program. Yeah.
No, I mean, you don't know. I'm not saying like every DM, everyone's going to work out, but these are two examples. I mean, I was on the Steve Harvey show only because I was bored one time during like a family dinner back when I, didn't take family dinners. Like I wasn't grateful enough. I didn't take it seriously enough. This was like, 3 years ago. And do you know you have 2 inboxes on Facebook? Do you realize that?
Really?
You have like people you're connected to. And
and like a non, you're not connected to the other people.
No, right? I never checked the non-connected. And I was like, let me just get out of this family dinner. Like, I'm so bored. I can't help it. So I go start clicking. Like, I'm like, yeah, sorry, I got to go answer emails. Even though I had already answered all my normal emails. But like I went through second box. And there was a DM or a message from this producer from the Steve Harvey show. It was like 2 weeks ago, but I didn't check it. Wow. They're like, oh, we're doing a show on young millionaires. Would you like to be a part? And I'm like, yes. It's like over Thanksgiving. I think this was 3 years ago. We set it all up. Like they were filming like a week later. Like it was like rapid fire. But we did it, and now that's like one of my best viewed videos, all because I looked at my second inbox on Facebook. So you just never know.
That's so true. And that's the thing with FOMO, like your fear of missing out. I mean, there's so many unread messages on different platforms and just following up. I mean, I show people sometimes, and I'm not even at your level at all. I'm not even close in terms of text messages and emails and DMs. And I'm like,
well, now
I can't even keep up with it.
Wait, let me show you something. Let me see.
Oh, boy.
Hold on. Huh.
2,000 unread texts. I interviewed a guy who had like 1,500 unread text messages.
Come on. That's amateur hour. So I don't know if you can see this. It's a sushi phone, but
602 unread. Okay.
But look at the emails. The emails are the
problem. Way. Come on. It's 730,000 unread emails, 246 missed calls.
So
that would stress me out a little bit. I'm kind of getting there.
I'm literally just behind nonstop. So people are like, you didn't answer my DM. I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm like lost my mind. I hired more assistants to try to help me.
They can't keep up.
No one can keep up. It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. So
that's incredible. And that, if you guys are not watching this on YouTube, go and check that out. Where are we at? I guess the near the 30-minute mark, I believe.
See that? I'll send you a screenshot. I'm not proud of it. I was under 700,000 emails like a few days ago, and then I missed out on a few days because there's just been crazier trading, and I was like, you can't miss a day. I'm like, damn it, I missed like 3 days.
But I guess that's the beauty of it, is that there's so many opportunities, and a lot of those are probably thank yous, and I got a lot of value from this, and thank you
it's
so
all
much.
sorts of stuff. A lot of it, I mean, it's not even that I'm like so in demand. A lot of it is just spam. Like early on in my career with penny stocks, most of these stocks are scams. They're pumped up by spam. So early on in my career, I was like, send me all your spam. I want to see which stocks are being pumped the most. So I
now
still
you get a lot.
People are still sending me spam, and I'm just like, this is like in a video like 8 years ago, which no longer applies. There's tools now where you can see which stocks are getting spammed, but people are still sending me spam. So probably like, I would say like a third of that maybe is just like random penny stock spam messages from people who've seen like my older videos.
That's crazy. I had the similar situation. I think I was at like 1,800 unread messages. I just gave up on my original account. I'm like, people keep finding me and trying to get on my podcast, and now I can't keep up with it, and I'm just going to stop checking it. And I would miss important emails like from an attorney on something that I'm working on, and like. Yeah. But then if you create rules, I'm sure you have already, but I created rules where anything from certain individuals, it forwards to my primary inbox that I actually check. Yeah. So that way, a lot of the spam builds up, and I can clean it out and delete it maybe once a week if I need to. I mean, there's some good stuff in there too. Yeah, I mean, I have like 3 assistants, and so like a lot of people, like sometimes they just have technical help, like a video lesson isn't playing for them, so like I'm not going to answer that. Like I have someone who can help them with that. But a lot of the stuff for me, the way that I teach, like if I start getting like 20 emails asking a question about what happened with this stock or why did this work out. If everyone starts asking the same question, I make a video lesson on it. Exactly. I've really created my whole business in response to the demand. I wrote one book called An American Hedge Fund. This was back in like 2007. I thought that was going to be a bestseller. It bombed. Well, I guess now maybe it's been a bestseller over like 15 years. It sells like I don't know, a few thousand copies a year. But it didn't really take off the way that I wanted, but because I needed to promote it, I started my blog, TimothySykes.com. The blog took off more than the book. Then people wanted real-time information. So on my initial blog, like the only way to chat, I didn't have a chat room at first, was I would write a blog post about a stock, and then the quote chat room was all the comments underneath it. And I would just refresh. And then, this one of my buddies, like who read my book, again, throwing my information out there. He used to work for the penny stock promoter, so he was part of like the evil side of the business. And he was like, I'm so sick of like scamming people. I'm sick of like, getting all these emails from people who lost everything, because you're just basically promoting scams. And he's like, I love what you're doing. You're exposing this stuff. You're teaching what the real industry is like. And he became my first programmer. So by writing the book, even though it didn't like turn into the bestseller that I wanted, it did find me my first programmer. And then, we built the chat room, and then the chat room led to people wanting video lessons and DVDs. So we built that functionality, and it was just step by step of like responding and reacting to the demand instead of trying to predict it. That's awesome. And I think the lesson there is that you're just doing stuff. I mean, you were hoping it would be a bestseller. It wasn't immediately, but at the same time, it led you to another connection that worked out in the end. And so you have to continue throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks, show up every day, right? Even if you're not seeing immediate returns on that time or investment spent.
If you're doing something that is valuable and right and true in an industry where there's problems, where whatever you're doing is not anywhere else, like no one else is doing it, there's going to be value. It might not be in the form that you initially think, and the success, like very much like trading, might not happen immediately, but you keep doing what's right, and more people will start seeing that. So like in the beginning, I always used to expose these penny stock scams. Everyone's like, no way, I don't believe you. Then the scams would get busted for various reasons and collapse. And like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I didn't know when it would happen. I just knew like it wasn't a question of if, it's a question of when. So when the scams got busted or collapsed, everyone's like, oh my God, you warned me 2 weeks ago. So again, like I'm not perfect by any means, and not all these stocks are scams. Like I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what's legal or quasi-legal, but I can see red flags. So I would do like a blog post, like here are 20 red flags on this company. And every now and then I would get like some big headlines, like Justin Bieber was invested in 2 penny stock pumps. And I was like, these are pumps, and Bieber's getting involved. His team didn't realize it. I wrote about it. We went back and forth, and then the scams collapsed. So again, if you're right and you have expertise and you show that expertise, and especially even if you get questioned, it's good. Like it's good to have haters. It's good to have doubters, and then prove yourself over the long term. Like it's better to actually be doubted in the beginning and then come out stronger, because people will remember that doubt. So don't be afraid of negativity or criticism, especially if you know you're going to be right in the end.
Absolutely. Just like you said, you had a hater who's now like a coach for you, or he's running webinars and stuff, right? That's super cool.
So if you can like turn your haters into fans, like you have something,
That's
like
so cool.
I always say, like, I have haters on Twitter, and I was like, dude, like I'll make some popcorn. Do tell me your conspiracy theory, and please be detailed, because I want to be entertained, So I'm like, I give them a chance. They never respond. Like, I'm like, come on,
what I thought.
They don't like my attitude. They don't like my haircut. They don't like my ego, whatever. But I always say, okay, here, I always link to this one blog post. I list out 164 rules that I have that I trade by. I was like, which one of these 164 rules do you disagree with? Please list specific numbers. Not one person has ever responded to that, because like the rules are actually good. They're not even reading the rules. They just don't like the idea that there's rules. They don't like the idea that, someone can get rich with penny stocks. They don't like the idea that I'm like teaching and so loud about it. They don't like different things. And for me, I don't care if they like it or not. I'm not here to be anybody's friend. I'm a drill sergeant, never forgetting that most traders lose. So I'm trying to correct the BS. I'm trying to correct the misconceptions.
Absolutely. And you're being authentic, which I think is really powerful, a powerful lesson. I mean, when you're trying to be something that you're not, it's hard to maintain that. And then you're not consistent over your videos, and people are like, he sounds different in this video. And it's the best feeling when someone meets me in person, or I actually do a Zoom call with someone who's listened to my podcast, and they're like, dude, this is exactly like what you sound like on your podcast. I'm like, yeah, because it's how I talk. This is how I am.
It's a nice fantasy that everyone could do that. Unfortunately, a lot of people have to fake it till you make it.
Right.
We have the benefit of having built businesses around our true selves, and now we can rub it in. But, a lot of people, like, they have to be fake nice to their bosses. They can't say what they really want. Like, someone might get the wrong idea from what I'm saying. Like, oh, Tim Sykes says to just be real all the time.
Fired.
Screw you, boss. That's right. I said it. Like, no. Hold on. This is like if you're creating your own personal brand. And again, for me, I can say whatever I want as long as I give like good reasons, good lessons. Like if I don't make money, if I'm just picking terrible stocks, if I'm not cutting losses quickly, like everything falls apart. It doesn't matter what I say. I could be the nicest person. I could be the funniest person. But if my rules don't work, if my patterns don't work, I'm useless. So you better make sure that you have something of value to build off of in the beginning.
Exactly. And the thing is, like you said, you've got value to offer. You have rules in place. You've got information to back it up. You're not just sharing your emotions or your feelings or saying, this is what I think is going to happen just because I have a gut feeling. You're showing why. And then whenever you make a call that's correct, establishes your credibility, because people see that, wow, you called this, you predicted it. Maybe you're not right 100% of the time, but when you are, it really sticks. And then your haters become your fans.
Yeah. I mean, I would not underestimate how much you need to study and prepare first. Like before you go public with all this stuff, like you have to become an expert first. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to do this. Let me just start talking. And they just post like their daily lives, but they're not an expert. They don't deliver any value. Before I started sharing this stuff, I was grinding for basically like 8 years, 9 years, just learning, studying myself, testing my theories. I didn't know I was going to become a teacher. I was on this reality show called Wall Street Warriors. It was a hit. And people started messaging me saying, hey, unless I'm an expert first, there's nothing to teach. So, everybody wants to be like, a celebrity or like a personality or something. You need to be an expert at something. And I don't care what it is. I mean, you could be an expert, like, bee collector or, wine sommelier. It could literally be anything that you love, but you're going to have to put in so much time and effort to truly, rise above the rest, because that's how you can differentiate yourself with any online brand.
Definitely. So you got to become an expert first, and whatever it is that you do, that's true. I mean, I kind of did the other way around, where I started creating shows and I started interviewing people, and I was documenting the journey in a way. And I changed what I did in between. I've been podcasting for 3 years, and what I started doing, like I'm not doing now, I pivoted into real estate, but I really struggled a little bit because I was like, well, I don't know what to talk about. Do people want to hear a story of someone who hasn't made it yet? Right. Yeah. So there are some people who've resonated with that, but now that I've become more of an expert and established myself in real estate, it helps so much more, where people are like, oh, you're the guy to go to. They know what I'm about. Before it was like,
you're interviewing people too. So it's not necessarily like, you.
I don't have to be the expert all the time.
Yeah, like I've been interviewed by like legends like Larry King, Steve Harvey. I mean, they're do their own stuff, but they're also very famous and very good, for interviewing. And then you get rewards from the interviews. So it doesn't have to necessarily be any one shape or form. There's so many different ways. As long as the viewer or your customer, whatever you want to call it, is getting some kind of value. It doesn't necessarily have to be from you. I mean, it doesn't even have to be any personality. I mean, you could design an app. And if the app can do everything amazing, then that's fantastic. You could just be, totally anonymous, which I kind of wish I was. Like now I'm out there and, I'm just like getting room service and like the waiter. I'm like,
I know you.
I'm like trying to get my food. And they're like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, let me just get my food. Nice to meet you. Happy holidays. Like, and it's cool. I'm grateful for it. But at the same time, I wish sometimes like I wish that I had just created like an app and I could just be behind the scenes. So.
Man, I might have to shut my podcast down before I get too big.
Yeah. I mean, I can't pick my nose in public anymore because, like, you never know who's watching. And I'm like, oh, they caught me on camera picking my nose. Like, this is terrible. So.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it's not picked sometimes, and it's sad.
Yeah, you have to leave it unpicked at times. I mean, I saw the documentary with Michael Jordan, and it said the same thing, like The Last Dance, right? Where after a game, I mean, he couldn't even get to his hotel room, and as soon as he got there, he was just like, I don't want to leave because – you get bombarded, it's cool, but like not all the time, right?
I'm not quite at that level yet, but it's getting a little crazy. I don't share where I am in real time anymore. I've had a few stalkers, nothing like crazy bad, but like
they try to just show up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just still like, I was going to like a French airport to Paris, Charles de Gaulle airport. I don't know why I say French airport. There's one main airport in Paris. And I said like on Snapchat, like the day before, back when like Snapchat was hot, I was like, oh, au revoir. I'll see everybody in Paris tomorrow. And I get there, I'm like waking up.
People there.
Guy holding a sign up with my name on it. I was like, oh, it's the driver for my hotel. I started asking him questions about like the traffic. He has no idea. And I was what's going on? And he's like, don't be mad. I just wanted to meet you. And I'm like, what the heck?
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
Guess how he knew my flight? I'm thinking like, did I show like my ticket accidentally online? How do you think he knew which flight I was on?
Did you Snapchat something like your ticket?
No.
Nothing?
No. Is worse. I kind of wish I had done something stupid like that.
Did he creepily call the airport?
So I bought him a cup of coffee because I felt like I could take him. He was like this thin little guy. I was like, let me just.
I could take him. You haven't seen the movie Taken, have you? Right?
I was like, I was like, listen, this is good for me to learn so that this never happens again. I bought him a cup of coffee. I got a cup of coffee. I want to be like.
You asked him how he found you.
Exactly. And I was like, how did you know what flight I was on? And he's like, I didn't. And I'm like, well, then how did you just see me? It's 10 p.m. And he's like, I've been here since 8 a.m. So he was waiting there 14 hours, holding the sign up on every freaking international flight.
That's dedication, man.
I wouldn't stay. Like, even if I was somebody's fan, I might be there for like an hour. And then I'll be like, I don't know what flight this is. But he was there all day.
People do it for like the new PS5, I guess. They camp out, right?
I guess. I don't know. It just blew my mind. And I got very lucky that like my stalker was kind of nice. But now I'm just like all my.
He could have definitely cut you into pieces and you would have been in a refrigerator somewhere.
Yeah. All my social media is now like multiple days delayed. It's not as fun anymore, but that's just the reality of the world.
Man, I've been doing Facebook Lives lately, so I guess that's no longer safe because people are going to know where you are.
I mean, you're like in a nondescript office right now. So you're good. Like there's a lot of offices. But, sometimes like I was at the Super Bowl and I was like live streaming from the Super Bowl. So everyone knew that I was there and a few people like knocked on my suite's door and stuff like that. So, you want to throw stuff out there, but understand there's also like you have to be careful a little bit because it's not just like a happy, playland like Legoland where everyone's just running around happy. Like,
I wish it was. I have this thing, my therapist told me I have toxic positivity where I'm so overly positive and optimistic and nothing can be bad and I don't want to hear it.
That's nice, but you just got to be careful, especially in third world countries. Not even because people are like bad, but like they're just desperate. Like, they don't have money. They don't have a lot of things. Like if your daughter is dying, like what would you do to save her? And then there's like somebody who comes in and like, they have money. Like I understand it. I've traveled enough. I want to try to help, but at the same time, like I'm not rich enough to help everybody who needs help.
Right. And then going back again to the teach a man to fish, he'll live for a lifetime instead of just feeding him and then he'll just continue doing, he or she will continue doing the thing that got that thing, right? So even giving money to panhandlers, there's a sign here in a big intersection that says it's okay to say no to panhandlers. It doesn't really solve the problem. There's other ways to help.
Well, that's why I love education. And I'm proud that, I have 1,500 videos on my YouTube channel. I've had several students who have been homeless and they're just watching it in their car. And, it doesn't help you overnight. But again, every kind of education, especially financial education, is useful. They don't teach this stuff in schools. Like, they don't teach trading. Like, no one should be a trader in schools. But like, for me, this is just what I gravitated to, and this is what I'm good at. So.
That's awesome, man. So how about for your charities? Do you have someone running each of those, or are you pretty involved in those?
So this is all me. So, when the stock market closes, after the market, I go on to charity and I post, cool. Karmagawa has 1.2 million followers on Instagram. I'm the one doing the posts. I've seen what has grown it. Like, we've had several posts that have 500,000, 1 million shares. We did a documentary on the Rhino poaching crisis. We did a documentary on the coral reefs. It spawned a whole new account called SaveTheReef. Totally unplanned, but there's these issues that, frankly, I just want to focus on building schools, but schooling and education is like a multi-decade process. Rhinos are going to be extinct in the next decade unless we start changing things. Do you know about the Rhino Crisis?
I've heard about the Rhino Crisis. I guess people are collecting their tusks and things like that, or is that what it's called, the horns?
Yeah, they're horns, and they're killing them for it. And the horns, because they think that they're medicinal, there's zero medicine. Their horns are made out of keratin, the same stuff in our fingernails.
Wow.
So it's literally...
It's just educating them like, hey, this stuff isn't super valuable.
Unfortunately, it's based on myths, and like, people think that it can cure cancer. They think it's an aphrodisiac. Now what's even worse, aside from just the myths, because some of those have been busted, now in certain countries, if you present an elder on their deathbed with a rhino horn, the bigger the horn, the more supposedly you love the elder. And then they just bury the elder with the horn. And it's the biggest waste. And the rhinos, the
rhino's dead.
But if you try to take a horn from a rhino, like, it's going to put up a fight. So they just kill the rhino. And literally, we're less than a decade left of rhino. And they're the most beautiful, gentle creatures. But again, a lot of it is these poachers in Africa. They don't have any money. They don't have any education. They don't have any skills. Picture like this rhino just grazing on your land, sitting there gently, like innocently every day. But then maybe your daughter dies of starvation, your mother's dying, and you need money. Like, I can understand. I don't try to make excuses for the poachers. But again, when you're desperate and you're dying of famine and disease, you do crazy things. And unfortunately, that's a lot of places in Africa.
Yeah. I love that you're at least real about it, because like I said, sometimes I'm too much in the everything's happy land, Lego land, or whatever you said, like the toxic positivity.
I'm picturing, that movie, the Lego movie, like everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, everything's awesome. Like, sure.
Cool when you're part of a team. Yeah, I've seen that movie.
Right. But I've been to places where I see the begging and like someone holding a kid and like emaciated, and I'm just like, dang.
I've been fortunate to travel a lot, but there's only so many luxury pools and pina coladas that you can have before you start like looking outside the resorts, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, something's not right here. So we started getting into that, and now, we're donating to all these different animal charities, and it's not just about schools. We still love building schools, but we also make documentaries that just kind of educate people. Like the coral reefs, I don't even know if you realize, like, nearly half of the coral reefs have died in the past few years due to the, climate change and coral bleaching and so many different issues. The biggest surprise for me during the documentary, you use sunscreen and it has all these chemicals.
It kills. I heard about that. A lot of it kills coral reef, right?
Coral reefs are so fragile. One drop of chemicals in a pool of water the size of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, one drop would kill all the reefs in that pool.
Oh my gosh.
Picture like, what we're doing like in Hawaii, in any place where there's a lot of beaches, you have hundreds, if not thousands of people in a normal year.
Where it's sunscreen.
Coral reefs have no chance whatsoever. Not to mention, even if people don't go in the water, they're like, oh, I don't go in the water, I'm just protecting myself. When you take a shower, it goes down the drain. Eventually, it goes into the rivers and the oceans. If you play golf, the pesticides that they use to keep everything so green, when it rains, that's runoff. If you go to Kauai, which is a smaller island in Hawaii, all the reefs are dead around the golf courses because all of the runoff. So like we're killing so many different ways. It's crazy. So we did a Save the Reef documentary that's closing in on 10 million views on YouTube. It's called 50 Minutes to Save the World. It was supposed to be a 10-minute video, but we just kept finding more and more facts.
That's awesome. I'm going to watch that after this. 50 Minutes to Save the World.
You're going to cry a little bit. I apologize in advance.
I'm going to get my tissues ready.
No, I mean, it's like a kind of a hopeless situation, just given how many different ways we're killing the planet. Like, it's not just one way. Like, it's plastic, it's chemicals.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And plastic has gotten so much worse during the pandemic, and we tried to make videos, and people are like, yeah, not now.
People throwing away masks and stuff. And
oh, my God, billions
gloves on the floor.
Exactly. And all that stuff lasts hundreds of years. You know, plastic was just invented a few decades ago, and it's piling up, and it's estimated in the next decade or so there's going to be more plastic than marine life in the oceans. And that's only going to continue to grow. During the pandemic, now we have all this online ordering, so it's like, it's bad.
It's getting worse. Yeah.
Basically, trying to be rosy. I'm sorry. I'm going to pop that bubble. The good news is that we can change. Like, technology can be invented. People can become aware. There should be, frankly, a government tax on plastic so that plastic isn't so cheap to produce, so that companies are not financially incentivized to produce it.
Yeah.
You know, so there are things that can be done, but it's an uphill battle.
Definitely. You're right, though. I mean, what you said, it feels a little hopeless at times. I mean, sometimes when it's such a big problem, you're like, man, like, what's the point? You know, I think there's a cool story where there's like someone throwing starfish into the sea. There was a storm that washed up all the starfish, and someone's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? You're not going to make a big difference. Or like, it doesn't matter, I think is what the quote said. Yeah. And then as he throws the starfish, he's like, it mattered to that one.
Yeah.
Like, I love that quote because
one at a time. And also, I do think big changes are possible once people are aware. I mean, just like with the straws, it was one video. I actually know the doctor. She's in Costa Rica. She has this turtle orphanage. She posted a video of pulling the straw out of the turtle.
Nose.
Went viral, like 800 million views. You know, Starbucks no longer uses plastic, although their new plastic cups, it's only 9% less plastic. But the point is that it was one video that changed everyone with straws, okay?
Wow.
And if you can do that many times over and you start realizing this, like, and now, frankly, because of technology, because of the pandemic, there's been so much technological innovation. I really don't think it's going to be that hard to change if people want to. So it's just about getting people to want to. You know, if every single person watching this video stops buying plastic and then tells their friends and family to stop buying plastic, companies will be forced to change. If no one is buying products just because they're made of plastic and they become like this toxic material, companies will be like, let's spend a little extra money on sustainable packaging because no one's buying this other stuff. It might be a little less profit for us, but we need everyone to get together. Unfortunately, some people are like, let somebody else save the plastic. I'm just going to buy it. It's too easy. So it's really getting people aware. And as bad as 2020 has been, a lot of people are a lot more aware of the issues and how we're all interconnected. And I think that's going to serve us well going forward.
I think so as well. Man, so we talked about a lot, saving the reefs, penny stocks, plastic, the turtle video. You're right. I mean, it's powerful what video can do. I mean, our conversation here might impact someone who listens to my show, and they might tell somebody. The ripple effects are really cool.
And young people, too. I mean, it's not even necessarily our generation that's going to have the biggest consequences. It's somebody young. So us having this conversation now in 2020, maybe somebody, you know, is 6 years old and like they're watching this with their dad, or like, you know, maybe somebody with a baby is watching this and then they're going to show it to their child when, you know, they grow up in 10 years, and then that person's going to be like, oh, wow, we need to save this.
And that person could be like an advocate for that, or maybe they'll be a teacher and they'll teach that in their classes.
Maybe they'll be the one to, you know, save everybody. You know, maybe this is like Terminator and Terminator 2, and you're trying to save, what is the kid's name who saves everybody?
Oh, I don't remember. What was
John Carter? I don't know.
John Carter. I was thinking like John Wick. No, that's not the same movie.
John Carter is another movie. John Wick is another movie. I don't know. There's one kid, and you have to.
Is it Carter? Is it just Carter? I don't know.
This is gonna bug me. I don't know. Someone leave a comment underneath this video. Tell us, you know, who the kid that saved in Terminator. But he takes on the machines, and you need to save him.
Right. John Connor. I just looked it up.
John Connor. Thank you.
We were close. John Carter.
Close. But John Connor needs to stay alive, okay? And so maybe someone watching this is like John Connor, who's going to figure out the plastic solution, and, you know,
save us from the machines.
We'll have played some small role in, you know, helping. So that's
absolutely. So what would you say is one way that people listening today can help? Like, what's the most impactful way I mean, is it donating time? Is it stopping using plastic? Like if you had one tip that you think would make the biggest impact, what would it be to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, it's a compound thing, but stop using plastic and tell others to do that too. Because once the tide is turned, once enough people say no to plastic, then the manufacturers will be forced to listen. Manufacturers want to stay in business. Big companies want to stay in business. Right now, they don't care because people don't care. So if you get enough people caring, they're forced to care. And then everything flips. And then it's like, which company can innovate the most? And then they'll talk about their new sustainable packaging. And then other companies won't want to be left behind, so then they'll do it.
They'll start.
It's literally a momentum shift. So right now we're all the way at one end, and we just need to get a little bit, and then it'll be kind of an avalanche of sustainable packaging. And then it'll be solved. Like, we humans are the problem, but we humans are also the solution. So you can get negative and you can be like, oh, it's never going to get fixed. Yeah, maybe with that attitude, same thing like, oh, I'm never going to get rich. There's so much I need to do. Like, yeah, with that attitude, you never will.
Right.
But imagine this. I say this to my students, like if you have a big goal, right? Studies show that if you have a big goal, you increase your daily performance 10, 15, sometimes 20% to get to that big goal. So let's say you want to make $1 million. Understand it's not going to happen overnight. Understand most startups fail. Most traders lose money. The odds are against you. But if you don't try to necessarily make $1 million overnight, and instead you focus on learning and building your knowledge account, and every day for an hour you put in time studying, the compound effects of that hour per day, 365 hours of studying in 1 year, maybe it's 2 hours a day. Then we're talking over 700 hours. By the time it's year 3, year 4, year 5, year 10, that $1 million, whatever your strategy is a lot more realistic because you'll have learned so much. Most millionaires have 7 streams of income. It doesn't just have to be one strategy. Maybe you get interested in a bunch of things. Maybe you'll try 3 things, they'll fail. On the 4th one, you'll make 50 grand. That'll wipe out all the losses from the first 3. On the 5th one, you'll have learned from the 3 losses and the 50 grand profits, and then you'll make 250 grand. Like it's not an exact science, but you need to build on your early failures, build on your early studying, and then you can reach your big goal over time. But you have to get started now. People really don't understand, small gains add up in the power of compounding over time.
That's so true. I heard something similar on a podcast about marketing and real estate. And a lot of people, they may have a certain cost per acquisition to get a seller on the phone or whatever the metrics are, and it averages out. So they may spend a certain amount of money and they think, oh, this isn't working. They've only done it 3 months. Maybe that 4th month is when they would have gotten 2 deals. Like you said, it would have brought back more money than they invested in those first few months because people are so quick to give up on things that aren't seeming to work. They're not giving it enough time to grow and to compound, like you mentioned.
And that's the same thing, like if you're tackling the, Save the Reef or, the rhinos or the plastic, like you might fail in, making a video or trying to raise donations, but you'll have learned from that failure. And then you try to do better the next time. Like
exactly.
Our rhino documentary, for example, I spent so much money and time making this. My own personal money. We don't spend the charity's money on making the documentaries. This is just my own personal money. All the money donated goes straight to the charities. So I spent like $250,000 trying to make this little documentary. We had to go to South Africa twice. I had no idea how to make this. It came out pretty well, but it kind of bombed on YouTube, but it got like 30 million views on Instagram. The 1-minute video did really well. Second documentary, Save the Reef. We learned a lot what we did wrong on YouTube. Next time, YouTube went huge, now nearly 10 million views and, $1 million raised for the Save the Reef charities. And now the third documentary, we're working on a plastic documentary before this pandemic hit. We're going to take the lessons from the first 2 documentaries and build on it. So whether we succeed on documentary 3, 4, 5, 10, we're going to keep trying and we're going to learn from every single success and failure. No different than on my trades. I'm learning from every single trade. No different than a company. Like learn from your first company or second company, learn from a strategy, learn from a podcast. It all compounds over time, but you have to start the process right now. And that's the problem. Most people aren't even on the ride. Like this is the ride called compounding. You have to get on the ride. And it's not an easy ride. It's not like, oh, let me just make money perfectly. Like there's some graphics out there where it's like what people think success looks like and they think it's like this.
What it really looks like. Yeah.
You have to start that process. You might get lucky on the first one, which actually probably would be a bad lesson because then you would probably screw it up because you would be too cocky. But let's say you have 7 failures in a row, but you're getting closer every time and you're learning. And on the 8th try, you nail it. Like that's life. That's strategy. That's the environment. That's, business. That's the secret to the universe, compounding over time.
Yeah, the quote I think of is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Exactly.
Powerful.
So that's what this is. I mean, if this is just a motivational podcast, so be it. Whatever we can do. And everyone listening to this has different passions. You might hate the reef. You might be like, I don't like rhinos. I want to save the elephants. Cool. We need to save the elephants too. That's another species that's going to be extinct shortly. Whatever you love, whatever you're passionate about, understand that you can achieve your goals over time. But at first, you're probably going to have to just get started, be frustrated, fail, lose, and then stick with it and learn from those early mistakes.
Absolutely. You've got to stick with it long enough to see the success come in. But
yeah, the only way you truly lose is if you give up. If you let any one of your early mistakes or early failures take you out of the game, and then there's no way to come back.
100%. Well, Tim, I guess we're at the end of our hour. Time flew, man. Just your energy made like the time go faster or something.
Good stuff. I love doing this. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. No, I love it. We talked about everything. Penny stocks, saving the rhinos. Straws. I'm going to listen to this again, and I've got it pulled up. I promise. I have 50 minutes to save the world. I'm not going to watch it all right now, but I'm going to watch it today.
Watch it. Share it. Bring tissues. I apologize to everybody. We tried to make it slightly positive, but there's
got to be real, because you got to burst my Lego. Everything is awesome. I got to be like, okay, everything's not awesome. How do we make it more awesome? There's a great quote in it where there's one scientist, and she says, look around, and they're overlooking the bay in South Africa. Everything looks beautiful. It's at sunset. She's like, look around. Everything looks amazing. This is a beautiful view. But if you go deep under the water, under the surface, everything's dead. And that's very similar to, what's going on with the world, where we don't see all the problems at first. You have to be willing to look into the details under the surface. And then you get into it, and then you're like, oh, damn, there's stuff that's eventually going to rise up, and, we need to fix it. Absolutely. Well, I love the mission that you're on. I love your energy, and thank you for sharing your story. I can tell you're clearly passionate about it. Where can our audience go to learn more about you? I know I can put all your Instagram handle, your YouTube channel. I'll put it all in the show notes. It's all Timothy Sykes. Timothy Sykes on Instagram, Twitter, TimothySykes.com, Timothy Sykes on YouTube. I have so much, stuff out there. I talk every day, and I try to help people. So beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tim. It's been an honor and a pleasure getting to chat with you and connect with you. And I'm definitely going to follow all of your social endeavors, and I'm going to make more of a difference. I got to stop being the person who's using plastic and all this styrofoam and just being little changes. Yes. A lot of people making little changes over time. Yeah. I love that, because you're right. If you don't pay attention to it, you're not going to address it. 100%. Thank you for understanding. Thank you once again, Tim. Cheers, man.